All right. How you guys
Right.
doing tonight? Welcome to another
Awesome.
edition of
Good
DMV
evening.
Dealmakers. And before we break this off, just want to wish you all happy Cinco de Mayo. We're about a day late, but happy Cinco de Mayo from yesterday. Tonight, we are privileged to have Mr. Dan Lesniak, the billion-dollar agent, live here from, he operates out of Arlington, Virginia. He operates the Orange Line Living, Carrie Schull team. You might know him as the hyper-fast agent. He's an investor. He's a developer. He's a coach. He's an Iron Man. And with that, my fellow co-hosts tonight, Jeff Walsh and John Maw from DMV Dealmakers.
All
John,
right. Thanks, Josh.
can you tell us about the
Awesome.
speaker a little bit more?
Yeah. So actually, I'm a licensed agent. I actually have my license under Dan's brokerage. So it's kind of cool. It's a real treat to have Dan here on the hot seat, being able to interview him for DMV Dealmakers. So yeah. So what do you guys want to talk about? Obviously, the biggest thing happening right now is this whole COVID thing. I'm sure we all want to hear the opinion of a broker who does, hundreds of transactions. What are we at right now? What's the count up to right now for the year?
Oh gosh, I think it's a little over 300 right now.
Okay, so we're in the 300s. I mean,
Yeah.
most brokerages, struggle to even do in the double digits, an entire year. We're barely halfway through the year. We're already in the 300s. So, I would say the opinion of a broker doing that many deals probably lends a little bit of credibility. Would you guys agree?
I agree. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
And for those in our group who don't know you, could you tell us like a little bit about yourself and sort of your background, how you got started, how you got into all this, and how did you become a billion-dollar agent?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it because I know you guys run an awesome group for investors in the DMV market. So it's awesome to be on here, and I love that we can be so connected with technology now. Even when we can't always physically be together in the same way. So these are definitely exciting times, and it's just awesome to be going through it, having the technology that we do today. I never really thought I would be in real estate. I think that's maybe true of a lot of people that become agents. I was on this path my whole life that I think hopefully is changing this paradigm of like work hard so you can go to a good school, and then work hard there so you can go to a better school and get a job, and then work hard there so you can either go back to school or a job, and you guys get the drift. And that was kind of how I started off the first like 30 years of my life or so, and it worked pretty well until it didn't. And I had a pretty good run. Going to the Naval Academy, becoming an officer on a submarine, working at the Pentagon, getting a defense contractor job that was safe and well paid, but not very exciting. And then I got my MBA at Georgetown, and I thought I would land this really exciting consulting job for one of the big three strategy consulting firms. And my timing was not great because I happened to graduate with my MBA class anyway in 2010, which was not a good year or a good time period for MBA grads. Not many companies were hiring, and I kept getting turned down at interviews, and they all told me I wouldn't be good in the sales aspect. When I asked them why, they're like, well, operationally, we think you would do all right, but this job requires sales skills as well. We think you're lacking in that. And I was a little stubborn. Just was like, all right, well, what do I need to do to get another shot at this? And they all said, well, go up, get some other life experience, completely different. And at the time I was buying, I think it was my second home in the area, maybe fourth or fifth overall. So I had bought in homes early on because of the VA loan and access to that. So I decided to get my real estate license, and I thought it would be like a side hustle that I did, while I was being a defense contractor. And it ended up working really, really well for me. And within a few months, I had so much business that it was apparent I had to quit my day job, and that's what I did. So I ended up having an amazing first year. I sold over 22 million as a solo agent, and at the end of that year, I left the brokerage that I started out. Went to Keller Williams, met Carrie, and the rest is kind of history after that. We ended up, I was growing a team at the time. She was growing a team at the time. Within a year, we had combined our businesses, gotten engaged, and we started to build a team, started doing investments as well. And, here we are today, and we've got close to 90 people on our team. We're shooting to do 1,000 transactions this year. We've got a couple big real estate condo projects in the area that we can get into if you guys want. We started a coaching company, the Hyperfast Agent, a couple years ago. So we've put on 2 big events now, and we're looking to do a third one, hopefully in the fall, when hopefully that stuff is starting to come back. So we've got a lot on our plate. Plus we got 3 kids, all under age 5, and I do 1 or 2 Ironman races a year. So we got a lot on our plate, but it's fun and challenging all in one.
Pretty wild. And real quick, we can go back to the Hyperfast coaching stuff, but do you have any idea on who the premier speaker might be?
I don't know. Yeah, we have a short list, and it'll be a mix of people, and yeah, we haven't really announced the kind of final date yet, which will probably dictate who some of the speakers are, but we're looking to do it in October. And believe it or not, a lot of the dates for event spaces are getting harder and harder to get, like Q4 and even through like the beginning of next year, because a lot of things have gotten rescheduled. Anything from like conferences to weddings, and so these event spaces, at some point when things start happening again, they're going to be hard to come by for a while, I think.
Yeah, a lot of weddings got canceled. I went to a Facebook streamed wedding. It's kind of cool. Okay, real quick, who were the guests previously?
Yeah, so the first one we had Grant Cardone.
That's awesome.
And Billie Jean.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And they actually just did a podcast together. So I know like Cardone did the whole like I'm going bankrupt kind of troll thing, and then Billie Jean actually interviewed him the next day on a podcast and kind of set the record straight. Went through a lot of hard questions, so it was kind of cool to watch that evolve, because we had them back to back, on our stage a year and a half ago, and then at the second event last fall, we had Ryan Serhant, and he was the top, the keynote speaker, if you will, and we had a couple other big names as well. Jason Flatline, for those of you in the webinar world, and that was a 2-day event. First one was like 3/4 of a day, so we had a lot of people. This year we're planning on doing 2 days again as well.
Yeah, there's definitely some serious names. So, I mean, I know you guys like to outdo the previous year each time. So, I mean, kind of excited to hear who the lineup is for this year.
Hey guys, I know we want to touch on COVID-19 tonight, but I heard Dan say a lot of really good stuff in the intro. I heard him talk about 22 million as a solopreneur in his first year, a team of 90 people today. If you guys are paying attention tonight, he has a team of 90 people today. I think a lot of our DMV Dealmaker community, they're still struggling to build a team, or they have a team that's not where they want to be. Dan, could you tell our audience tonight, like, how did you, who was that first hire? How did you branch out from solopreneur, and sort of how did that process evolve to where it is today?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake people make is waiting too long and kind of not taking the first step. And you may see this with investors. I know I certainly see it with real estate agents. Like a lot of the people that I saw in the business 10 years ago that were doing, good numbers, like 10 to 20 million a year, which at that range, you're going to make 250 or so, maybe more, net. But a lot of those people are still at that level, and that's okay. But if that's kind of consciously what they chose, but I think just a lot of people just never make the first hire. My first hire was an admin, but I kind of had the wrong person, and it took me. I realized it early on, and within a few weeks, because I think the second biggest mistake people make is keeping the wrong person for too long, either the wrong person or in the wrong role. So we're much quicker now at realizing when we've made a mistake, and even though our process for recruiting and hiring has gotten more thorough, you still make mistakes, and it's just part of the process. So we're always improving that. But I think it's very hard sometimes for people to admit that they made a mistake, and they have this initial instinct that, oh my God, this person's not doing this, and they're probably not right for the role. But then you start justifying why it is, and I think a lot of times that comes from pride and just this feeling that you can save them. And like, let's face it, none of us can be Jesus. Some people just aren't the right person, and it's just a pride thing usually. And there's been very, very, very few cases, probably like less than 2 or 3, where we had like an initial reaction to someone after a day or a week or whatever that was negative, and that they ended up proving us wrong, right? So like, I'm not saying to like get rid of people right away, but if you are excited about them, hire them, and then like have a reservation or see something, your gut reaction there, your instinct is almost always going to be right. It just is. So, and in the hiring process too, if you have a reservation or a doubt about them, it's almost always, like 99% of the time, going to be the right move to just not hire them, like not make them an offer and wait for the right people. So, kind of putting a bow on some of that, like people generally wait too long. And then if they do go ahead and try to like hire and build, since they waited too long, they end up lowering their standards, right? So now they have a less qualified person in the role potentially, and they waited too long, so they're busy. Well, now they have less time to train them, so it doesn't work out, and then they just get down on the process and say like, I tried that, it doesn't work. And so I think for most people, it's realizing that you need to do it sooner, don't drop your standards, and also realize that you're going to put time into this person or these people as you're hiring them. Like, you got to train them, teach them your systems, and that's going to take time. So at first they're going to cost you money. They're going to cost you money and time. And, it's like a marketing effort or a new program you roll out. You got to work at it for a few months usually before you start to see the ROI. So you have to give it time.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Plus, you're working with different personalities as well. It could just be some silly comment you might have made, and that just, they took it the wrong way or whatever. I mean, humans are really fickle emotionally.
Yeah, they got to be a good cultural fit, and that's probably more important than the technical skills and all that. But like, they need that, of course, but they got to have be the right cultural fit and be motivated. So you got to make sure you're trying to test for that. And I think another big mistake real estate agents make is they hire people in commission role, like 100% commission role. Like, they start off with a buyer's agent instead of an admin, and now you're going to be doing the admin work for yourself and that person. And if you have enough business, like there's $10 an hour work, $20 an hour work, $30 an hour work that you should have someone else doing while you're going out and doing like $100 or $200 or higher, per hour type work.
100% makes sense. Okay.
I have seen Josh's slogan in action of hire slow and fire fast. I've seen that in action.
Yeah, there's been a few. Oh man.
Right. So where we are today, I mean, I don't know how many agents are, on the team. Was it 60 or 70?
It's about 50
Okay.
outside, what we call outside sales agents. So they're the guys and girls meeting with the buyers and the sellers. And then we've got close to 10 now inside sales agents. So those are the folks that are on our phones calling our leads back and booking the appointments. They're like the John Stocktons of the world.
Yeah, just a side note. I think inside sales people are just extremely, extremely underrated for the business. I mean, if you think about it, they're kind of on the front line. They're the ones generating that business. I mean, the outside sales agents doing the actual transaction. I'm not saying anyone can do that, but I mean, any agent is already doing that. And the piece that most agents are missing is probably that lead gen. So, ISAs are probably kind of the most clutch position there on the team. Do you agree with that at all, Dan?
If you wanna scale and get big, then yes. Like you can't. They're like the point guard. Yes, you need the scores, but you need the good point guard to give them as many opportunities as possible, because the inside sales agents, the way they're structured, like they don't have to go show homes, they don't have to write contracts, they don't have to take a call at 10 p.m. because some inspection or offer got is challenging. So they have more time to nurture longer term relationships. And when it comes to leads, 80% or more are typically going to be longer term, but let's face it, all of the scores, the buyer's agents, listing agents, they're focused on the 1, 2, 3 month, and shorter type leads. So these inside sales agents, if you give them a good database and a good system and enough leads, like they can nurture these longer term leads, which there's far more of, and set up the sales agents. So you got to have a good inside sales agent. And I think even if you're small, a good inside sales agent should be one of your first 2 or 3 hires.
Yeah, one thing I noticed with your team here is you guys put a lot of training into the ISAs, into the inside sales agents. Most teams that I've seen, they kind of put newer agents into that role, just kind of throwing them in there without any kind of proper training. They're kind of treating that role as if it's kind of a secondary role, which, in all honesty, I think that's probably I think it's one of the most important roles in the entire system. So, that's one thing I'm really impressed by. You guys put a lot of focus on the training of the inside sales agents and actually make them feel like they're part of the team. They're a key component, because they actually are, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're the most, one of the most important aspects of what we do. And I have seen another model out there of bringing people on as junior agents, where you kind of throw them a phone and tell them to just dial random people, or for sale by owners, or FSBOs, expireds, and
all they have is some crappy script from like a Kevin Ward script, which has the most ridiculous questions.
Yeah, and then the idea is they do that for 3 months, and then they go on and become an agent. And I think you want professionals that specialize in that only. That is, like you said, the front line of the business. So you want people that are, going to be really, really good at it. And you can't just learn that in a month and then do it for 2 months and then move on to something else. And it's a different type of person too that wants that role. That person doesn't necessarily want the job of dragging buyers around for months, writing a contract. They want to set the appointment, not have to get in their car and meet people in person and do open houses and all this. It's a different type of person, right? And the ISAs on our team, a lot of them are making six figures. Now they're not going to go out and make 250, 300 like some of our agents do or more, but they have their nights, they have their weekends. They don't have to like meet clients face to face. So it's, and they still get to make like six figures. Like we had one person start part-time with us a few years ago. She did so well. She dropped out of school and as a 20-year-old, like made like $100,000 on the phone. Like it's just like unheard of in my mind. Like I wish I was doing that when I was 20 sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it sounds like we've got, you guys have an army of agents, both inside agents, sales agents, outside agents, and listing agents. What are they all seeing? I mean, they're going out in the field, they're bringing deals back to the brokerage. What are we seeing right now with all this COVID stuff?
Yeah, so we switched a lot of our procedures immediately back in like the second week of March. Like we were very familiar with a lot of the online platforms. A lot of that because of Hyperfast Agent. So for a couple of years, we've been running coaching groups and doing webinars and Zoom calls. So I made a little training video for our team, showed them how to use Zoom for sales meetings. I put that on the Hyperfast Agent YouTube channel. And our team started booking appointments through Zoom if the client wanted. Now we'll still go meet them in person, but we give them the option. And prior to the lockdown starting, which I think in our area was like 14th, 15th of March, sometime around there. But prior to that, we were booking like 70 to 75 appointments a week. So the first week that the lockdowns started, we booked 70 appointments. The major difference was almost 40 of them were on Zoom. So had we not made that switch right away, it's safe to say we lose 40 appointments and we go 70 to 30. Now that's a problem. But that didn't happen. We made that switch. Like this week, we booked 101 appointments, buyers and sellers and showings. And those numbers have stayed about the same. Half or slightly over half are on Zoom and the rest are in person. We did 23 deals, I believe, this week, 22 deals the last week. So we're still hitting pretty darn close to our numbers and the, our pipeline, which is, I always look at like the leading indicators, which is, I think in any business, there's lagging indicators and leading indicators. And, our lead count this week was the highest it's ever been. We had 1,000 leads in 1 week, and those converted into 101 appointments. And so that in my mind means we're going to have a pretty good June and July. But so our numbers are looking pretty good because of a few of the shifts we made early on, and just because our team has responded really, really well and been proactive. And I know some agents and brokerages kind of had this mindset of like, oh, the world is shutting down, I need to just stay at home and not do anything. And if that's your viewpoint, like that's okay with me. Like we're going to go out and help buyers and sellers.
You got 1,000 leads in 1 week. I have to ask you, so what do you see as your number one sort of marketing strategy right now, especially given the environment we're in?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a ton of lead sources. So there's a lot that we have. We've put an emphasis on lately, the last like 4 weeks or so, on seller leads, because as soon as this happened, we noticed, our deal count, our lead count, appointment count, it was all staying pretty similar, but the percentage that was buyers shifted and it went up. And normally our team is doing about 60 to 65% buyers, and it got up to like 80-85% buyers. Like there were some weeks we would do like 14 buy side deals and like 4 seller deals. And I mean, it kind of makes sense a little bit if you're a seller initially and had like health and safety concerns, like maybe you're not okay with the idea of just random people coming into your house. So I think it was affecting the quantity of listings a little bit more earlier on. So we focused more on the last few weeks, and we've gotten that balance closer to normal now for us on generating seller leads. And we've got a couple Facebook ads that are doing really well for us. One was designed for move-up buyers, and we actually shot that here down on our Florida place, but we set Carrie up on a desk, like she was working from home, and I actually shot it, and I had she was pretending to be on a Zoom call, and we had each of our kids come in the room at a different time and like bother her call. And I think the tagline was, we know you love your family, but let's face it, they're not the best coworkers. If you need a home with more space so you can have a home office, we can help you buy, find that and sell your existing home. So that ad's done really well. And, I think that may be a trend that we start seeing is people want homes with more indoor space for offices or nurseries for kids, that kind of stuff. And maybe they want more outdoor space because some of the public spaces are closed down. So we kind of, ran with that ad and campaign, and that did pretty well. Zillow has been working pretty well for us. Better than it, let's just say better than it has done, in recent years. And we're getting, I think some agents are cutting it and getting out of the business. So it's getting a little easier to get, more leads on Zillow. So we've done really well with Zillow. And then we've really worked on like just our follow-up too with existing leads. So we've got, more phone calls going out, more emails going out to our existing leads, and we've just ramped up some of that stuff. And I think sometimes people focus a lot on the lead gen, but not the follow-up and conversion of the leads they already have. And just like you're throwing money away at that point.
That's true. That's very true.
Dan, are you using any virtual assistants for lead generation?
No, we've experimented with that, but our database manager, our inside sales agents, our marketing team, it's all in house.
Okay.
We've got a limited support from some digital marketing agencies and stuff like that, but most of the stuff we do is in house right now.
We have a question coming in tonight for Dan from Facebook. This is from John Edwards. John's a terrific guy, a realtor in the local market, and he's asking Dan, how much would you pay and how would you structure the pay for an ISA?
Yeah, so you got to give them base plus a percentage of the commission, which means you really should make a requirement that they get licensed so that you can do that properly. So all of our team is licensed, but I would give them a percentage of the transaction, and usually that's going to be 5%. I've seen other people do as much as 10. You can build in bonuses to that based on like the amount that they do per year. So I would do that plus a base salary, and that'll be different, kind of depending on your market and where you are. There's probably a lot of people right now that, if anyone's like thinking about, should I hire an ISA? Like there's probably never been a better time to hire an ISA, because a lot of people that are in retail and restaurant are out of work, and they're already like good at talking to people, because that's what they did in those jobs. So I think this is a good opportunity for people that need ISAs.
Mm-hmm.
That is so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
Are there any assessments that you guys do for like someone like an ISA, like a DISC assessment, or what kind of skill set would you be looking for that person?
Yeah, so we do the disc assessment. I think we do that with everybody that we hire. And since a big chunk of the, or more than half of the total pay is commission, I want to make sure that they're motivated by money. So I want that. And I don't want them to be like bold about it, or I don't want them to be bashful about it. I want them to like own that they want to make a lot of money. So I want them to be motivated by money. And then on terms of like a practical assessment, if they kind of pass the culture, if they are, we think they're, financially motivated, part of the test then, or the interview process, is they're going to do a role play with our existing ISAs. Probably two of them, actually, I think is what we do now. So two different, current team members are going to let them like study some of our scripts and do a role play, like pretend like they're, calling in off a sign or an ad or something like that, and see how they do.
Guys, if you're just tuning in tonight, we're here with billion-dollar agent Dan Lesniak, based out of Arlington, Virginia, investor, developer, hyper-fast agent, coach, and Ironman. John, you got the next segment here with Dan.
Yeah, so I think we're in the middle of talking about COVID. So obviously the team has made a lot of adjustments here to, to calibrate towards the situation, but not all teams are doing that. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you look on the MLS, there's probably a lower volume of listings at the moment. Just what do you think right now is going on with this whole COVID? And, obviously this quarantine is going to end at some point. It's no surprise. How do you see the market reacting to that?
Yeah, I think, the markets that we're primarily in, DC, Arlington, Fairfax, Loudoun, we're in other counties and in Maryland as well. But I think this is like you said, listings are down, like number of listings, number of transactions are down, but I think the imbalance between buyer demand and supply has not gotten better for buyers. It's, if anything, maybe it's gotten worse. So I don't think we're seeing prices come down at all or anything like that. So I think at some point there's going to be, more listings will come on and transaction count will go back up. But for now, I think there's less transactions, but prices aren't moving down. And I just don't see them moving down in the core markets that we're in.
So Dan, is there anything else in your business currently just due to COVID that has changed pretty dramatically, or any sort of pivoting in your business?
Our team meetings are virtual, and that's definitely a change for us. We're doing trainings virtually, so we're using Zoom a lot. We're using like Zoom rooms, so we'll get in one big meeting, then break into smaller groups and do role plays. So, I think that's been something that was really an easy adaptation for us. And, we're trying to make it fun as well. Like, we had one of our first team meetings, we had JP Sears come on and just told jokes to our team for like 20 minutes. We had, different real estate speakers and trainers come on and train our team on various topics. Now we're going to be rolling out like a series of things we do for clients that will be online. So tomorrow night, actually, we're inviting all of our past clients in our database to an event at 8:00. We're going to have Jason Redman, who was used to be a Navy SEAL and has just an amazing story. So he's going to, get on and just talk to our clients. So we're going to do things like that. Because normally this time of year, we would all be getting together for a baseball game. We do 4 big client events a year. Now, the last one we did was in February, the casino night. And normally at the end of April, beginning of May, we we invite all of our past clients to a Nats baseball game, and like last year we had like 1,000 people at it. So I think we're actually the biggest group purchase of Nats for a single game for the Nats, and so we're not doing, we can't do that obviously. So we're going to be doing like a series of webinars and just try to bring on different people that our clients might not normally get access to. So we're doing that for our clients, and we've done some of that for our team members already, and we'll keep trying to innovate and just adapt to whatever is thrown at us. So from the real estate team, I'm excited about what we're doing. I think we're gaining market share. We've hired more people since this all started, so we're still hiring like agents, inside sales agents, marketing people, and it's nice to be in a position where we're able to pick up some of the slack that or help some of the people that other industries can't help anymore with jobs. So I think a one challenge would be in our development business, like is capital raising. So part of what we do is raise capital for investment deals that we do, and it's as you know from your business, it's certainly a lot harder to get capital right now from investors.
100%. A lot of scared money out there.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people are just like, I'm not sure, and it's not as if most people think DC real estate is going to tank. I don't think they think that. I think they're just worried about other investments they have tanking, mm-hmm. So they want cash, or they think that there might be buying opportunities. That maybe the stock market will go down a lot more, and so they're just kind of waiting and trying to time things, and hopefully for the people that do that, it works out.
I think there's just a lot of uncertainty. You mentioned stocks. I think Josh told me Warren Buffett hasn't bought anything during this whole thing, right? So, I mean, that might be an indicator that he's projecting that can further go down. But on the investment side, in terms of real estate, a lot of the hard money lenders have basically, they've disappeared. A lot of them just aren't lending. A lot of them, it's kind of a niche industry to begin with. A lot of them is just a guy with money, right? So it's a solo decision. And, with the uncertain times, they're just, kind of holding off and seeing what happens. But you also mentioned, with the team, a lot more things are going virtual. And I think we're seeing that culturally across the board with a lot of industries are adapting to going virtual. And I think that leads to the question, is an office space really that necessary? Obviously, the Carrie Shull team's still going to use their office, but, we briefly spoke about, the satellite office you have in DC, trying to get rid of that. And, there's other businesses that are just completely going virtual. What's your thought on that in terms of how that's affecting the overall economy, say locally, and plus all the stimulus money being pumped, it's like 10 times the amount of what it was, back in 08, 09. So a lot of people are kind of, they kind of have this doom and gloom prophecy, but then again, some people just kind of always have that prophecy every year, right?
Well, it's a lot of stimulus and probably some more to come. Who knows? And I think people are maybe unwilling to take any health risk, but also there's a trade-off to that. Well, this reaction is gonna cause a big financial issue, but we're also willing to take any financial pain. So I think this stimulus stuff is things that'll cost us or our offspring or their offspring later. So it's probably going to lead to massive debt and inflation. But who knows? That's like above my pay grade. But I do think it'll affect office demand, and I think perhaps one longer term effect will be that more people will work from home. We were trying to we were not continuing with the that DC WeWork space, more because we were coming off the heels of getting 10,000 square feet in our Arlington office. So we had a major expansion there, and like we just have the room to operate out of that. So I envision us continuing to grow, and going from 100 to 200 people, but being able to do that out of like one big mothership type office with centralized operations. And for us, I think we'll get more use out of the office space, because there will be more virtual opportunities, and I think that's going to be something that potentially affects office real estate. Like I'm glad I'm not in office real estate as an investor or business or anything like that. So
you definitely don't want to be WeWork right now.
Yeah, those guys are, man, and I know they lost their IPO, right?
Yeah,
and I don't think they were making money, right? They were losing money before they lost the IPO. So yeah, I don't know.
I think a lot of us didn't think residential was as sexy until about 6 weeks ago, and then we're like, man, it's looking good now. Because you look at retail, you look at office. I mean, so many different commercial investments are just getting slammed right now. So residential is probably a bright spot in investment markets as far as I can see.
Yeah, especially in our market, because I've seen graphs and stats, and like this is affecting the people that this is affecting primarily. Nothing's like 100% statement, but the primary people that are being affected are like working class, lower middle class, and like those are the people that either lost their job or had to go work, like physically at work still. And I think most of like our clientele, their work just shifted from the office to the home for the most part.
I mean, realistically, I was reading a lot about what Sam Zell had to say 2 days ago, and it's like we kind of have this new normal right now, and in this new normal, a lot of business models that used to exist may not be relevant anymore. Like maybe like WeWork, for example, may not be a model that works anymore. or maybe even like Airbnb may not be a model that works for a while. I don't know.
Yeah, Airbnb laid off a quarter of its employees.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
So Dan, I know you're doing some major projects in DC, some like big condo buildings. Has this impacted you at all, or is business as usual, or?
It's we most of our stuff is in plan, permit, or build stage. So we have one project that hit the market in the last 2 months, and that looks like it's going to be sold. That was one of our smaller ones, just 2 units. So plans and permits are still going through for us in DC and in Alexandria. So we've got some active projects in the planning and permit stage that are still going through. We've had one project that we have to go to a BZA process, and that was actually scheduled for today. And that meeting got canceled. So I don't know when that will be rescheduled. That's a project where we're doing 11 units. We're taking 4 row homes and making 11 condo units, but one of the row homes we don't have to take through BZA, so that one's like almost done through permitting. So we'll be able to start building some of the units on that project before we build the rest, which is okay. We'll kind of have like a model to sell the rest of them, but yeah, for the most part, we've been getting things through plans and permits, and still have workers on site. So I think for us, the timing might work out really, really well, where we have a lot of stuff delivering like in the first half of next year, which might be an even better time than right now. Although if we were delivering them now, I'd still feel fine too. But
give a chance for Jeff. Do you got a question for Dan tonight, or anything on your mind?
Dan, what percentage are you a buy and hold investor also?
Not really, but I probably should do more of that. And I probably will convert one or two of my condo projects to apartments next year. Mm-hmm. Mainly so that I can do cost segregation and offset a lot of the income from the other ones. So I'll probably convert 10 to 20 units total next year is my guess, and make them into apartments.
Because I'm a buy and hold investor in some apartments, and we're hitting like 40 to 50% of our clients our renters are not paying.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Luckily, there's a reserve fund, but it's no fun when it's going on.
No. What areas are those in?
In Falls Church, right off of Route 50.
Okay.
So it's just I didn't know if anybody else was having the same problem or what your numbers were at.
Yeah,
I mean, some of the right now.
Some of the groups I'm in have been posting about that, and yeah, I've seen numbers like yours. I've also seen some that are like, almost everybody paid. So I've seen it like kind of all over the place. I'm a limited partner in 2 different funds, and they both suspended that are buy and holds, and they both suspended distributions for 90 days. So I do think that's. And those funds are outside of the DC market, so it's different markets. But I do think that's going to be a challenge for renters in some markets for sure for them, for a while.
Thank you. Yeah,
John.
Gotcha. Yeah, let's go back to the team. So like you mentioned, the team is still growing here. What do you have planned for the team here? What's like the grand vision? I know you're definitely growing out this team model here, but are there any ideas of perhaps opening additional teams for say agents that want to be more solo agent type model or anything like that, or is just continue to grow this existing model?
Yeah, so a lot of agents maybe aren't good fit for the team model because of like what you said, that they want to be more solo, or they want to do a certain amount of transactions but not more. So we've realized after doing this for a while that there's like some people that just aren't a good fit for our team, but that doesn't mean we can't help them. And so we kind of the last year or so have been thinking like, how can we help agents that they want the freedom to brand how they want to brand and market how they want to market, not have as many team responsibilities. Like how do we help those people? So we are in the process of rolling out a brokerage model for them that will be 100% commission model. They'll have a subscription fee and some other fees, but they're going to get to keep the lion's share of the commission. And probably for most agents, compared to like the normal brokerage around here, they'll probably save $25,000-$30,000 a year in commission. And we're going to give them a lot of the marketing systems we have or access to it. We're going to give them a lot of the training that we give our paying members of the Hyperfast Agent program. So they're going to get coaching, autonomy, access to our marketing systems if they want, and all of that for a very, very low cost. And that will probably, a lot of that will probably be virtual as well. So
that's pretty big. Because I guess for the year that I've been on the team, I've noticed a lot of people, not a lot, but you've had some turnover, some people have left. And I think it's for that reason. They feel like they can do a lot more production as a solo agent and not, paying a fee to the brokerage for doing the marketing for them. And that way you can collect, you kind of scrape up the area. You just have this much larger brand and just having 2 different types of agents out there.
Yeah, and that's the exact type of person we want to help. Is someone that wants to do more of their own branding, lead generation, marketing, and maybe they want to do 6, 7, 8, 10 deals a year, and they don't want to do the average on our team is like 24, 25, something like that. So, and if you're 25 deals, like you'll make more money on our team, or if you want to do that. But if you want to do 8 deals or 6 deals or 10 or 12 or if you just don't want to be on a team, like we want to have a model that will save that person money, give them the training that's like actually real. Because a lot of brokerages or coaches like either aren't in the business or never have been. So like they're getting the exact training that we're using right now on our team, and that we're training other people across the country that pay us for it. So yeah, it's going to be a huge opportunity for all sorts of agents that we're excited to roll out, even though it's the middle of COVID-19.
100%. Wow, that's pretty awesome.
So Dan, your days sound like super busy. I mean, you're running a really successful brokerage in Arlington. You're running hyperfast coaching. You're an investor. You're a developer. You're also doing Ironmans. A lot of people, especially investors, entrepreneurs, have trouble with scheduling and figuring out how to, allocate their time efficiently. Can you tell our viewers like how you do it all? How do you, do all this and do it all successfully? What does your week or day look like?
Yeah, well, I mean, it definitely helps having an amazing wife and business partner, and just the alignment that we have in our vision, and it's really like a two-headed monster when it comes to business. So that's huge for me and Carrie, and that's definitely part of it. The other kind of tips I would give are, and I actually put out this was on my weekly vlog that went out yesterday on my YouTube channel, is get up early. Like, I think a lot of people would benefit just by starting their day an hour earlier. And I know it seems like corny or trite, but if you do 1 hour earlier, a day for 5 days in a work week, it adds up to like
5 hours.
Yeah. But it adds. But if you do that 50 times, 50 weeks, right? That's 250 hours, which is like 6.25 work weeks, right? So
true.
So just by doing that, you've got 6 more weeks than everybody else. And I think the other thing with like getting up earlier is it's a more productive time to work, I believe. You're not going to get phone calls. You're not going to have people in your office or family bothering you. Like when I get up, my kids and Carrie, everybody's sleeping. So I have the house quiet for like 2 hours or more. So I think it's not only more time, but it's more productive time. And I think a lot of people get up and the first thing they do is like they check their phone, they check their email. And when you do that, you're being reactive. You're letting whatever notifications on your phone say, or whatever your email says or social media, you're letting that dictate how you start thinking and what you start prioritizing. So I think if you can get up and be intentional for a few minutes and kind of set your top couple of priorities for the day and try to knock those out early, and then also get like a challenging workout in early. I think that doing something physical kind of like stimulates your mind. I always have better thoughts after a workout. So I think if you can kind of piece all of those aspects together, and there's all sorts of morning like gurus out there and that have like different ways of doing it. So I'm not like advocating any one of them, but I think if you can just get up early, set your priorities, take on some of the more challenging tasks and get a good workout in, like it's going to set the tone for the rest of the day. And for most people, if you do this, like it might be a pain in the butt the first like couple weeks, but eventually it becomes routine. And what you'll find is by like 8 or 9 o'clock, you're getting more done already than most people will get done in the entire day.
Yeah, it's a common thing that, successful people say, wake up early, waking up at 5 or 4 or whatever, which, absurdly early. But I mean, I've done it before, and you definitely feel very different. It's like you get this, it's like you've made up some extra time or whatever, right? And your mind is completely clear. And, the worst thing you can do possible is just pull up social media, because social media is designed to grab your attention. It's designed to grab your RAS, the reticular activation system, right? So, if you got your mind hooked on, garbage, scrolling, then, that's how you're setting the pace for your morning. But, if you do actual work in the morning, I think there's a lot to be said about that, for sure.
And I actually look at it as like I get charged by the fact that I know that like other people aren't doing it.
They're still sleeping.
Like I get it's like a secret weapon. I'm just like everyone else is sleeping and I'm just charging like light years ahead of them. And like by the time they wake up, they're not even able to see me. Like, if you want, you got to get kind of like that mindset going that you're gonna like get shit done when other people aren't. Like it carries over into everything you do.
Yeah, I'm sure your mind and body works differently when you follow the natural circadian rhythm also. I mean, your body is designed to go around, this thing we have, the sun, during the daylight. As soon as sunlight hits your eyes, your body produces adrenaline. And, that's when, I guess you have the most mental focus, so it's like, your body was designed that way.
So for those who are still tuning in tonight, we have actually a member in the group in DMV Dealmakers. This is a shout out to Dallas Dyson. He did his first deal today. It took him 6 or 7 months to get his first deal done. We actually saw this deal on DMV Dealmakers and a few other Facebook groups over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And a lot of builders, investors actually laughed at the deal because it was a total teardown out in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Dallas Dyson tonight got his first deal done. He made $9,000 on that teardown. So congratulations to Dallas.
As a wholesale, I assume.
Our Dealmaker team, we're all proud of you. You're well on your way now. You got your first deal done. And so the question from that becomes, there's a lot of folks, Dan, tonight who are sort of just starting out or sort of, maybe a few years in right now. What would your advice be, looking back on, you've gotten to a really successful point in your career already. What would you tell your younger self right now? If you're Dallas Dyson or anybody else in the community tonight, what would you tell them?
Well, congrats to you, Dallas, by the way. Big accomplishment, big accomplishment. So awesome job. And thanks for sharing that. But if I could tell my younger self something, and I like the way you phrase that, because a lot of people phrase that question of like, what would you do differently? And there's really nothing I would do differently because everything I did kind of shaped what happened. So like, even though I made mistakes, I wouldn't go back and like change it. So I like how you phrase the question. So good job on that. But I would tell myself to execute faster. So that the whole theme of ready, fire, aim, right? Like don't wait to execute. I think that's where most people kind of stall out, as they come up with a good idea or have a new way of doing something, and then they just overthink it and they never execute. And I like to highlight this by an analogy from my submarine days when I used to bring the sub to periscope depth, which is a challenging evolution when you're coming from, we'll just call it below 100 feet of depth and coming up to, less than that. So you can stick the scope out of the water. It's a dangerous evolution because you could hit the bottom of ships and like all sorts of stuff. So, you have to assess the picture with sonar to kind of see where ships are. But, there's a chance that could be wrong, or that a boat doesn't have an engine on, so you don't hear it on the sonar or know where it is. So when you come up to periscope depth, you got to like look around, verify the picture. And if you see, you know, a problem ship, like one that you might be on a collision course with, you can't wait for the perfect course, figuring out the perfect course to give the order. Like you either have to tell the helm, the guy driving the ship, like left or right rudder, right? You tell them left full rudder, right full rudder, and then continue to analyze, right? So the idea is you get the ship moving in the right direction, because it takes a few moments for it to get there. It doesn't turn on a dime. But while that's going on, you're still assessing the picture, checking things out, and then you maybe hone in on that perfect course, whether it's like 90 degrees, 95 degrees, 100 degrees, whatever it is. So I think if I could have learned that concept, that way of thinking earlier, and just this idea of when you come up with a good idea, take action, track the results, measure the results along the way, analyze them, and then refine the action, and just repeat that loop and keep taking action, keep measuring, and keep making adjustments, and just do it quicker.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you, so what does the 10 or 20-year vision look like for your company? Where do you see yourself going? Whether be it as an investor, developer, or coach, or how do you see that vision playing out?
Yeah, in 10 years, I mean, we want to be the number one real estate team in the country in terms of sold volume, and we want to get there a lot sooner than 10 years. But definitely within 10 years, getting to that level. We want to grow our new brokerage model to something that is, in all 50 states. We want to grow Hyperfast Agent to be like the premier real estate coaching group. I think we're probably in terms of being player coaches, like people still in the game, we're probably one of the biggest already out there. And I want to continue to grow what we're doing with real estate investing. So we kind of got started on the whole raising money and syndicating projects, only in the last few years, and we're already up to like 8 or 9 million that we've raised in investor equity. So I'd like to see that number grow to be 9 figures, where we're raising 100 million or more a year and going out and deploying it, not just in like the projects we're doing locally, but in great buy and holds and other types of real estate. Probably we'll still stay away from office though, but
Yeah, do that.
Here's interesting to think about, Dan. What would your future self tell you as a piece of advice to get to where your future self is right now? To that vision.
That's a good one, but probably my future self would tell me to be more aggressive in identifying and recruiting and hiring C-level talent. So obviously to grow to the level that we want, we need people that are like at partnership level or like C-level type, talent, where there's a lot of profit sharing and that kind of incentive. So I think, my future self would tell me to get that shit done.
John, any closing thoughts or anything?
No, I mean, that's great. I mean, look, we can kind of go on forever. I mean, Dan's an athlete. We didn't even touch on that. I mean, he's an athlete. He does coaching, is growing a massive, massive team, has investments. I mean, we can only touch on so many in this short hour here. Is there any kind of closing statements you want to make, Dan?
I got to work out at a gym last night when we went up to Stewart, Florida. So the hotel gym was there. I mean, it was a hotel gym, so they just had the cable machine, a pull-up bar, and like a couple of dumbbells, but that was kind of nice to be able to enjoy. But yeah, we didn't touch really on Ironman, but I think there's one point I'd like to make from doing that. These are like 12, 13-hour races sometimes. And they're extremely challenging. It's, swimming 2.4 miles, biking 112, and then you run a marathon. So it's if I have a good day, I'm in the water for like an hour and 10 minutes, on the bike for like a little over 5 hours, and then trying to run like a 3 hour and 40-minute marathon after doing all that. And I think one of the reasons I'm drawn to it, and I think you're starting to see more people talk about this, like David Goggins and some other people, is that we have life easier right now, even with all this crap going on. It's easier than it's ever been. Like 100 years ago, you might have to go like grow your own food or shoot an animal if you wanted to eat. And then now we've gone from like, you can have grocery stores where you just go buy all that stuff, to now they just deliver it to your doorstep. Like that's just like one example, right? Like life is like physically a lot easier than it's ever been before in like the thousands of years, men and women have been on the earth. So I think one of the reasons I think it's important to go do physically challenging things, and it doesn't have to be an Ironman, but whatever is like physically challenging for you, is it helps build this muscle or like mental muscle, emotional muscle that maybe came a lot naturally 50 years ago, 100 years ago than it does today. So that's the whole reason that I'm such a big believer in doing things like Ironman races. And like I said, it doesn't have to be that, but I think it's important, more than ever, to do things that physically challenge you, so that when real challenges come up, like you've experienced some form of challenge, because like we just don't have the same amount of challenges in our in our lives right now. Like most people get pissed off if the Wi-Fi doesn't work on the airplane, and like that, like 50 years ago, 10 years ago, even, people would like love to have that problem. But
Absolutely.
like we've gotten so handheld by all these developments, which are great, but then there's just like this negative effect of it makes it harder to deal with shit. So like go out and do challenging shit, no matter like where you are now. Just find something to challenge you, so that you'll be able to defeat the real challenges that life throws at you.
For sure. I think there's a lot of studies that show doing physically challenging things affects, your hormone and testosterone as well. I know there's like these different, kind of like, I don't know if you call them like spiritual workshops, but there's like self-development workshops for guys where they do these really primal things. And the idea isn't to be primal, but it's to kind of stretch you into that direction, because our society is just falling into this this culture of I don't know how to really put it, while being PC at the same time, but just not being able to tolerate stress in their life. Something like having the Wi-Fi out, just people go berserk, right? So yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it's definitely a good motivation there to or a good reason to be doing physical challenging activities, for sure. Yeah, I think it's a necessity, and I think it's a shame we don't teach that in our traditional education system, right? You kind of have to seek a different form to kind of learn that stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
That's another we didn't talk about that. It's kind of not relevant to this show probably, but traditional education, I think, could be in for some changes after this, but we'll see.
I think it's a big shakeup, because now we've proven that you can go to class without actually having a campus. Yeah,
That's true.
And that leads to the question of, hey, do I need to pay this amount of money for tuition that's George Washington University or Georgetown University, or do I do the seminar from this from this business guy who's, you know, a fraction of the cost and is giving you practical knowledge and practical steps to actually succeed in something. Whereas, you know, a lot of these professors, they just never really done anything, to be honest.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of professors that have not been practitioners. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this whole COVID thing, I think the biggest takeaway is it's a shakeup in our society. I mean, it's a shame that, you know, some people do have to pass, but I mean, that's a natural, you know, piece of life. You know, people pass from diseases, and sometimes people get hit by a car. It just happens, right? I know it's easier for me to say that versus, you know, someone who has had one that has passed. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, it's just really shaking things up and proving that we can do things much more virtually, be a lot more lean in our business, and just we can adapt a lot faster than what we thought.
Yeah, no, it's all perspective, right? You can like the same two people can see the same kind of sequence of events or situation happen like this, and one person thinks it's a crisis, the next person thinks it's an opportunity. So it's you know, you can have either of those perspectives. Just which one are you going to choose?
Yeah, all the crypto guys think the system is about to crash, and we're going to go towards a digital system, which it's not too crazy to think about. I mean, they talked about using a digital currency for the stimulus payment. So, I mean, it's planting ideas in people's heads. So
I do have one closing thought about tonight's conversation. So like investors have been talking about closing deals, you know, via telephone conversations for about a year or two now. And there's certain sales trainers out there that are teaching investors in particular how to close deals over the phone. Are you seeing any sort of, you know, is a Zoom meeting more effective with a younger demographic, or like older clients not as prone to doing a Zoom appointment with you guys? Or what are you seeing in terms of like, you know, the type of client who's willing to do the Zoom call or Zoom appointment?
I think if anything, we've perhaps noticed a difference between buyers and sellers. So our team, I think, is able to get the buyer agreements signed pretty, you know, normal conversion percentages on the Zoom call. The listings, a lot of times, those are more two-step, and you know, they do the Zoom meeting to start, and then they kind of seal the deal, you know, when the agent comes and actually tours their house in person. So I think it's, you know, one thing is it would depend on if it's a buy or a sale. I think for an investor, you know, trying to, like, are you talking about an investor trying to buy a house,
Trying to get
sight unseen, or?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I think it's definitely doable, and to some demographics, it's probably it could be the preferred method, because a lot of the homes that you'd want to buy as an investor are owned by older people, right?
Correct.
So you know, if I'm an older person, maybe I'm more attracted to the idea of like, this guy can make an offer on my house without you know, seeing it. You know, I assume you're only gonna pay what you would for, like, you're gonna pretty much value it as a total gut job or tear down if you're buying it without taking a look at it. So, you know, it's got to be someone probably that is expecting that type of price, that you know.
That's something I think as investors we're gonna have to look into. I mean, a lot of folks have been talking about just cold calling and closing deals over the phone for about probably 12 to 24 months. But I mean, closing a deal over a Zoom meeting, that's something that we haven't done.
I actually sold a house over FaceTime last year.
Really?
My daughter had bought a house from the agent, and we just went through the condo. And then I got a couple of things fixed in the condo, and then she did the final walkthrough, and it was perfect. It was a time where, you know, you didn't have to, I sold a neighbor a house, and then we were going to put it on the market. And that was the time where people were, you're trying to decide whether to sell it or to rent it. And somebody put a door hanger on the door saying that they had a qualified buyer. So only one person saw it. It was on FaceTime. About 30 days later, she came and did the final walkthrough, and it was easy. And she's 75 years old. So
Oh, wow.
it's doable.
Dan, do you have any sort of training module for closing deals over the phone or anything in the Hyperfast portal?
Closing deal, not like specifically. We've got we've got a video. It's on the Hyperfast Agent YouTube channel that is it's about 30 minutes of me talking about how to do a sales meeting on Zoom. So
solid. What's the username or what's the account? I think a lot of people might find that pretty valuable here.
Yeah, that's just at Hyperfast. It's youtube.com/hyperfastagent. And we've got tons of free content. Like we put out way more free content and interviews. Like we have interviews on there with Gary Vee, Grant Cardone,
wow.
Billie Jean, Ryan Serhant. So we put out way more free stuff than courses. We do have some courses though at hyperfastacademy.com. So if you are an agent, we've got all sorts of courses on, how we do listings, how we do buyer meetings, Facebook marketing. We've got all sorts of courses at hyperfastacademy.com as well. But
I think people would love that. I know there's a lot of solo agents in the group, and a lot of them are agents/investors, but they're still doing listings here once in a while. And if you're an investor, you're always looking to somehow develop some sort of skill set. So I think that'll be pretty big. Any final thoughts, or how can people reach out to you, Dan?
Yeah, my handle on social media is the Dan Lesniak. So you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. I make 1 or 2 videos a day for TikTok, actually.
Holy crap!
Just started a personal YouTube channel, Dan. So it's I forget the URL for that. We put out like 3 episodes of a weekly vlog. So that's a little bit more of like a behind the scenes look and just a kind of a different take. So if you go to YouTube and search for Dan Lesniak, I'm sure it'll pop up. But you can follow me on any of those platforms, or just send me a direct message on Facebook or Instagram if you want to chat or ask a question.
Sounds like you're a content creator too now.
Yeah, I've always been blogged. I've written 3 books now, so I like I create like shorter content now, micro content videos. We have videographers on the team, but I do a lot of my own, like filming and posting and making stuff and just experimenting with different platforms and what's new. And it's fun and challenging and kind of, it kind of keeps you, I think, keeps your finger on the pulse of the market. Like, a year ago, everyone kind of like was making fun of TikTok, but now we're getting like Gen Z people. We had our first Gen Z person reach out to us about wanting to get into real estate, and so I think they said the same thing about Instagram like 5 or 6 years ago. So all these platforms start off and it's like younger users at first, and then it ages up. So I would definitely spend time on creating content on social media. And that's the key. Is I think a lot of people say that they like social media and they like consuming content, but I think you need to get in the habit of creating it, not consuming it.
Right. Be at the cause, not the effect.
Thanks for tuning in tonight. If you've been watching, this has been another edition of DMV Dealmakers. I'm Josh Cohen. That's Jeff Walsh.
Hey there.
John Ma, and we've been talking to billion-dollar agent, investor developer, hyper-fast agent Dan Lesniak. If you guys have any questions, comments, hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Instagram, on our YouTube channel, DMV Dealmakers, and again, hit up the Dan Lesniak on IG, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Dan. We really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Thank
Dan.
you.
Have a good night, guys.
Peace.